now online, Lettice Bromofsky. Great to have you with us.
Morning.
We're reflecting in the show the New Orleans New Year attacks, and that's the front page of the Daily Mail, Lettice.
Yeah, no, exactly. We've been getting so much information coming out overnight. Obviously, the most recent information is this sort of links to ISIS. We know that there was a flag within the truck, on the back of the truck, and really over the next few days, this is what we're going to be examining. We also know that there is potential that he was not acting alone in this. The suspect has been named, but there'll be further investigations into it. I think one thing that we should be really looking out for now is how America reacts to this. We've got President-elect Trump coming in on January 20th. He's obviously come out already and said some rather inflammatory statements around this. I think it's important as well to look back to when Trump first came into power in 2016, going into 2017. He made an outright ban on 7 Muslim-majority countries of people coming into America, so they weren't allowed in. I think if there are terror organisations, and no terror organisation has claimed responsibility for this, if there are links to it, though, they will be hoping that such a knee-jerk reaction perhaps comes into place and might further divide people on this issue.
Yeah, condolences, of course, go to those people who have lost their lives, and in the coming days we will be across more details of that case. Benjamin, take us through the Times. They're focusing on a story, of course, reflecting on the New Orleans terror attack there, but trafficking suspects face a ban on travel and online too.
So obviously we've had, 150,000 people have come over in small boats, and Keir Starmer has said that the way to solve this is, quote unquote, to smash the gangs. And so they're going to introduce rules which mean if you're suspected of people trafficking, even before the point that you're arrested, then you could be banned from travel, banned from internet access, banned from communicating with other people, subjected to a curfew, in order to make it so punitive and so difficult that they hope that will start to break down the structure of people that are making massive amounts of money from bringing people over. Now, I think there are questions about this, which is that the idea that you can put those rules on somebody who's not been charged, even suggested not being arrested, is obviously counter to how our system of democracy and law typically works. But the suggestion they make is that, you know, these are global networks, and people that are living in the UK that are executing these people trafficking, it needs to be so difficult in order to stop them doing it, in order to take away the profit motivation. And what's extraordinary is the story in the Times the other day about how they're just blatantly advertising on TikTok. You know, they have been for a while, they're still doing it, doing sort of holiday package style things. But of course, when those people get here, often they're in modern slavery because they didn't have the money in the first place. And so, you know, I think this kind of rule is probably a step forward.
Yeah, OK. We're going to move on now to, Lettice, The Guardian. Low turnout, a threat to legitimacy of elections.
Yeah.
Talk us through this.
So The Guardian is referencing some new research by the Institute for Public Policy Research, which is a left-wing think tank, which is saying that if we continue on this path of low turnout, it's going to affect the legitimacy of those we have in power in this country. And really, I think this speaks to sort of the growing disillusionment amongst people with those we have in politics. People don't feel inspired, perhaps, to go out and vote. People aren't, you know, enamoured with who we've got in politics to go and vote. Some of the most important statistics just from our recent July 2024 election is the Lib Dems. They got about 3.5 million votes and won around 72 MPs. But Reform got 4.1 million votes, and yet they only have 5 MPs. And so perhaps there's more wider questions we need to be asking around reform of our own system, of the first-past-the-post system, and maybe there needs to be change there so people feel as well that they're represented.
And you look at the polling, when you've got 3 parties fluctuating between late 20%, then the first-past-the-post system suddenly becomes a very different deal at a general election, because it almost becomes lucky dip when you have 3, in many places, 4 parties so close together. It starts to not be the most effective system. And I think, you know, these are questions that our political system has not had to grapple with before. And I think that's going to damage turnout as well.
Yeah. So Keir Starmer saying he doesn't want any reform of this, so we'll see where that goes. The iPaper, Benjamin,
Yeah.
COVID courts to stay open because of delays, backlogs
Yes,
since the
considerable.
pandemic.
Yeah, so these are, they call them Nightingale courts, like those massive hospitals that popped up, because there is a delay, a backlog of 72,000 cases. Among those are more than 3,000 rape cases. Some women, some victims of that are waiting more than 2 years to be heard. And so the government is going to keep these courts open in order to try and deal with that. But they're very expensive and lots of, it turns out, this amazed me, lots of permanent courts are being underused because they're falling apart, because they don't have the financial resource. And so this is to try and fix that.
OK, we're going to have to leave it there. We'll have more opportunity to discuss the papers after a very short break. But Lettice and Benjamin, thank you for your company. More after the break.
There's always more to the news.